Thank you, Ron. Yes, here's Connor Brown, the Oilers' biggest offseason signing, eventually deciding that Edmonton was where you had to be, and we will get to that momentarily. But first, we obviously have to address the Oilers' response to the 8-1 loss in Vancouver on Wednesday night, Louie.
Yeah, a lot of talk about the battle level, but I thought you guys came out and essentially threw everything but the kitchen sink at Vancouver, and you have to be happy with what you did, the response after an 8-1 loss, but a tough one tonight to not be able to at least get a point out of that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, I think we competed really hard. I thought we controlled most of the game. The few mistakes that we did make kind of ended up in our net. And, I thought as a whole, there's a lot of good things to take out of that and moving forward. But obviously, it's frustrating to, you want to win that one, the home opener in front of these fans. And, it's not the outcome we wanted.
Connor, just before we get to how you landed in Edmonton, I want to ask you about your hockey bloodline. Your father, Dan, after 1 year at Western Ontario, and Ron in the studio talked about this a few moments ago, but he played 2 years after Western Ontario in the British Hockey League for the Fife Flyers in 35 games in 84-85. He had 82 goals and 75 assists for 157 points, and in 36 games the next year, 83 goals, 54 assists for 137 points. The question, Connor, is why have you not been able to maintain the family tradition and score at a similar pace?
Yeah, I don't know. Those are tough numbers to keep up with. Keep in mind, they only had 3 imports over there at the time, so they were playing against a bunch of Scottish guys. But he had a lot of fun over there, and he always jokes that he broke a lot of the British scoring records at the time, but his winger broke them more. So his name's not in any of the books. Yeah.
All right. So the Fife Flyers are the oldest hockey team in the British Hockey League. Been around since 1938. Your father has his place in Fife Flyers history. So then he came home. Dan came home to become a youth hockey coach, and he coached you, the West Mall Lightning Mighty Might Selects. Louie.
Yeah, what a remarkable team. I mean, what was so special about that team? You had 5 players eventually later on get drafted to the NHL off that team, but what do you remember about that time and why you guys were so good?
Yeah, I mean, there's just 12 of us there, and 5 of us drafted the NHL. Actually, in the top left there, Derek Jones was drafted the MLB too. So, we had a really close friendship. A lot of those guys are still my best buddies, and we just competed with each other every day on the ice. And so I think that was that competitive environment growing up in I think pushed us to get the most out of one another.
I know your dad, you said, was really influential in teaching you angles and stick work, and that carried forward into your junior time in Erie, where you almost paced him with points.
Yeah.
You did lead the team a couple of years, but Robbie Fatorik had some news for you and advice, and you said it stuck with you.
Yeah, no. When I was in Erie and I got there, he was a guy who'd been around the NHL for a long time and played a lot of years pro and coached in the NHL. And so, he said to me that you really got to carve out a niche for yourself, and he thinks penalty killing would be a good penalty killer. And by that point, I always kind of saw myself as an offensive guy and power play and wanted the puck on my stick. And he really pushed me to be take my angling and my stick checking and my my penalty killing and defensive play to another level. And so, I very grateful for him and his influence in my early career.
So, Connor, choosing to sign in Edmonton takes us back to a summertime dinner meeting in downtown Toronto at Ristorante Soto.
Yeah.
Who was there?
It was just me, my wife, and Connor and Lauren, his fiance, and just the 4 of us. I think there was a week or so before the deadline, and me and Connor obviously had played together, but we didn't really here and there keeping in touch, but we hadn't really seen each other in years, really. When we go our separate ways in Toronto and Edmonton and stuff. So he kind of just laid out what he saw out of his group here, and the role I could carve out. And I think after leaving that meeting or leaving that dinner, it was pretty obvious. You can see the hunger in his eyes, and obviously not the start we wanted of the season, but it's a long way to go. And it was pretty obvious where I wanted to be.
So there was no place other than Edmonton after that dinner meeting. I guess the question is, who picked up the bill?
Yeah, it wasn't me. Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the history of the 2 Connors. You'd already had a year with the Erie Otters when Connor McDavid, at 15 years of age, he'd been granted exceptional status by Hockey Canada. So he showed up as a baby-faced kid, looking like he might have even been 12.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of the kid who would go on to be the best player on the planet?
Well, I had to be minus 72 the year before to get him, so we went through a lot to get him there, and it was it was obviously you can just the way he carries himself, even at such a young age, the self-belief and the composure and how humble he was and hardworking, it really hasn't changed. From his core values as a young kid, and so that's something that I've always really respected about him, and it was also a huge reason why I wanted to come and play on his team.
And along those lines, one of the things you said was his love for the game. And I asked you, I know I picked a couple guys' brains before you came on to say, what's Connor like? Connor Brown, that is, you. And they said that you're always excited. You've got tons of energy. You love being at the rink. And you said to me, I just love the game. And Connor obviously loves the game, so that's why you guys kind of hit it off there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, exactly. He loves the game. He loves to play. He loves to get better. He's in competition with himself to be the best player he can be. And and I've always loved to play. I mean, it's something that we both you grow up in Toronto, in the Toronto area. It's all you do is hockey, especially in our house. With my dad at one point was coaching my team and my brother's team, so he was it was a hockey house for sure.
You and Connor McDavid had 2 years together in Erie, and the second was incredibly productive for you, and here's some of the evidence.
McDavid, top of the circle to Brown, one-timer, score!
So that was the first goal of a hat trick by you versus Kingston, all three set up by McDavid en route to a 128-point season to lead the OHL in scoring. Here's a tweet from Taylor. He asks, Connor said that when he was playing with McDavid in Erie, he learned so much from him that he still uses it in his game today. What are some of those things?
The way he kind of watches defenders' feet, and he's manipulating guys' feet, and he's trying to face the middle of the ice as much as he can, and a lot of the stuff he does to the neutral zone and crossing over one way and creating space the other, and little things like that I learned a lot from him when he was 14, 15 years old, and I kind of implemented him into my game, and been trying to. After a year off, trying to get back into it, but getting those little, those little habits back. But yeah, I learned a lot from him on and off the ice as a young kid, and I continue to.
The Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy goes to the OHL scoring leader. So here's a treasured pick for you. The year you won the trophy as a result of that 128-point season, you celebrating it with your number one fan at the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's my Nana. Yeah, she's the matriarch of our family. Noreen Kennedy. She was at every one of our games and down to Erie pretty much every weekend with my mom and dad. And so she passed shortly after that. So that's a fond memory of mine.
You established a reputation for durability, playing 82 games in each of your first 3 seasons with the Leafs, and then 4 games into your time in Washington last year. Unfortunately, this.
To Carlson, and ahead to Connor Brown, who was hit by Juleson as he tipped that puck in, and Brown is slow to get up.
Here's the pass. Brown awkwardly goes into the boards.
Grabbed at his right leg.
Yeah, he did, and you can see Elias
Louie.
Pettersson's helping.
Yeah, that's got to be really tough, 4 games in with a new team. And I know you expressed gratitude to how the older players on that team still made you feel. But this is something you've never gone through before. How did you handle it? And that must have been really tough. And obviously you said you knew right away something was wrong.
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, that was a character builder for sure. Yeah, and to your point, a lot of respect for that Washington team, which is an older group and a lot of veterans, and they didn't have to treat me the way that they did, but they really kind of welcomed me in there. After not being on an expiring contract and being injured, and John Carlson and Carl Hagelin in particular were out a lot of the season and were kind of helping me out, and Tommy Wilson and OV, and the whole group was great, and their training staff. So I mean, it was tough. You find yourself in Washington D.C., which seems a long way from Etobicoke, kind of from a culture standpoint and everything like that. And it was a character builder, so to speak.
What did you learn about yourself during the rehab?
I felt like I have a lot of resilience, and you can overcome a lot. I feel like I was backed up against the wall in a tough situation, and at points you feel like the sky's falling, and then you realize it's okay, and you just go about your process, work as hard as you can and do everything you can to get back. And it's landed me with a great team, and an opportunity to to help this group. And I still feel like I can definitely personally feel like I can tell I've been off a year, as far as my awareness and composure and little things like that. And I'm trying to be patient with myself, and I'm sure it will come. But it's just very grateful to be able to be back playing again, and through a lot of hard work.
Here's a tweet that I unfortunately skipped over, and I got to get it in. We're going to go back here for a second on your relationship with Connor McDavid. Does it give you extra, this is from Visually Better, does it give you extra motivation hearing Connor screamed out by 19,000 fans at Rogers Place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, every time we get off the bus, everyone's yelling, Connor. I'm snapping my head. I'm like, oh, nobody wants to talk to me. Yeah.
On the topic of durability.
Just pretend it's all for you.
Exactly.
Just pretend it's all for you.
Let's go back on the topic of durability to January of 22. You're with the Senators, and it's a warm-up in Calgary. Thomas Chabot's shot goes off the crossbar, hits you in the face, but you played. You had a goal and an assist in an Ottawa win, and then you find out after the game you had a broken jaw. How in heaven did you manage to get through the game?
It was, I kind of got checked out. I went off the ice after I got hit in the face, and I think just adrenaline takes over. Sometimes you have your best games when you're kind of feeling a little bit injured or sick, because, adrenaline kicks in, and, I was spitting up blood all game, and I kind of realized somewhere through the second that that was broken, and, I think that's something my dad instilled in me when I was young. I mean, just that kind of warrior mindset. You get out there and you sacrifice for your team, and you play whenever you can, or until someone drags you off.
Can't leave your time in Ottawa without talking about the franchise record you set for goals in consecutive games, 8. You set that record in April of 21. What were you thinking when that was going on?
You know what? Actually, I was prior to that, I was through a little bit of a rough stretch, and things weren't going my way, and I just was, you go through highs and lows in a season. It's a long season, and I just kind of got one to go off that Chris Tierney. Soupy put one into Chris Tierney. Actually, it's funny that I'm friends with both of them now. But I was able to get one to go, and sometimes that's how it works, right? You just kind of get on a hot streak, you start feeling good, and the brain's a powerful thing. So once I started feeling good, it was just kept rolling.
You had a shot at catching up to your father's 83-goal seasons, but fell just a little bit short.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a tough one to reach.
We got to step aside for a moment, but when we come back to Rogers Place, a beautiful friendship is up for discussion. Connor Brown is our guest in After Hours. Back in a moment. Back with you at Rogers Place in Edmonton as we continue with After Hours. Connor Brown of the Oilers is our guest, and we like to think After Hours, Connor, is a place for people to get to know players as a person. And we know of you that you are loyal and compassionate. This we see in a feature that Christine Simpson did on Pistol Pete Flagler in January of 2019 when you were with the Leaf organization.
With the help of Kyle Dubas, Pete would start his career as the assistant equipment manager with the Toronto Marlies, a position he's held for the past 3 seasons. Pistol Pete, as he's better known, has created quite the reputation amongst Marley players, past and present.
Pete was always around on game days, games and practices. He was there all the time, and he'd always come in before the game and give the guys a pep talk. And he'd come in and talk about scoring the first goal, working hard. And at the end, he'd always say, everybody would ask him, so Pete, who's scoring tonight? Who's scoring the first goal? And every time, it was Connor Brown, his best buddy.
That special friendship was forged during Connor and Pete's time at their high school in West End, Toronto. As fate would have it, they would be reunited once again, this time as members of the Maple Leafs family.
Now, what's it like to see your good buddy as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, I'm happy for him to be a Leaf because he's the best Leaf on the ice always.
I told him to say that.
And he it's the best thing happened to my life in high school.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, that is beautiful, and your friendship with Pistol Pete endures. How would you describe it?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's genuine. You know, Pete's such a great guy. I mean, cares so deeply. Every time he'll call me all the time, he's like, "How's this guy?" And next thing you know, "How's this guy? How's this guy?" He cares about everyone. He'll ask you how 20 guys are, and he remembers everybody. You know, he's such a special person and so uplifting. You know, friendships like that keep everything in perspective for you, and it's you know, I'm blessed to have him in my life.
You have a soft spot in your heart for those with Down syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my dad Dan, his uncle Dougie grew up. He had Down syndrome, and he lived with them growing up. And so my dad was really close with Uncle Dougie, and so you know, that kind of you know, was passed along to me, the love of the Down syndrome community. And they're really great people. I mean, you know, when you get to know them, they're like nothing else. They're so funny and so uplifting, and you know, really blessed to have Pete in my life.
And the update on Pete is that he's graduated from the Marlies to the Leafs equipment staff.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna have to drag him out of there now. He's a fixture.
Leaving.
Yeah, oh, no chance. Yeah.
Your life changed for the better a year ago, August, when you and Madison wed, and just in time, because could you imagine going through an entire season of rehab with that torn ACL without her by your side in a new city?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, it's tough to really describe what you know, what she means for me, especially, you know, in times of adversity, and you know, unwavering support, unconditional love, and you know, and now, I mean, sure, we'll get to it, but now in welcoming our first kid in the world, Nolan, and it's been a pretty incredible journey. Me and her went to high schools near each other, and we've known each other since the 8th grade, and so you know, we've kind of gone through this journey together, which has been a crazy journey. Obviously, you know, playing in Ottawa, Toronto, Washington, now Edmonton, and she's been there through the whole thing, and you know, I'm very grateful to have her.
Anna Gerton is a fan of yours and Hockey Night in Canada. She's in Winnipeg. She is 107 years old, and she is...
Yeah, she's my wife's great grandmother. So right. she's now a great grandmother twice over. Wow. So yeah, it's incredible. I mean, to live to 107 is incredible, and so it's great to see that she's still tuning in to Hockey Night in Canada.
Well, my guess is at 107, she's probably sleeping right now in Winnipeg. But she'll see this program tomorrow on replay.
Yeah.
And now, as you say, she is a great grandmother, because you and Madison welcomed your first child in August. Nolan, how has fatherhood changed your life?
Perspective. I mean, you know, it's been incredible. You know, he's been such a blessing to me and Maddie. And you know, a year ago, or when I injured my ACL, you think the world's collapsing, and to have this little guy come out of the whole situation, it's you know, it's such a blessing. And so you really never know what God has in store for you. And it's you know, it's we're really lucky to have him, and we're really enjoying parenthood.
If you'd come into this group 3 or 4 years ago, it would have been, you know, a much younger group, obviously, with not a lot of responsibility, young guys. But other than to play well, now, in the last year, there have been 6 Oilers, Nugent Hopkins, Ceci, Ekholm, Kane, Hyman. You have all, and you've all welcomed babies. So what kind of team atmosphere does that make for? And is the conversation more likely to be about diapers than where you're going after the game?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It helps with conversation, especially with, you know, me and Nuge had babies a day apart. So, you know, kind of be able to compare notes and chat with one another about this thing and that thing. You know, we're both going through it as new parents and new dads. And so, you know, it's obviously great when you're around like-minded people, and people are in the same walk of life as you. And so I think it's been great for me to be able to connect with these guys so early, and that being something that we can connect on.
Perfect. We got to go. So 2 Connors on the Oiler roster, and we were delighted to have one of them with us tonight. That's Connor Brown. He was our guest on After Hours, just underway in his time as an Oiler.